The narcissist is secretly spying on you. Yes, I know it may not seem like it. It may seem as though they've just forgotten about you. They've just left you behind. They've moved on to something else, to someone else, to another situation. That's how it may seem. But when you are dealing with a narcissist, everything is not what it seems. Because they are secretly spying on you to see if you're still suffering. Because they know what they did to you. And they understand that there are certain effects that may come from their actions. So they're somewhere watching from behind the scenes, seeing what you're doing, seeing how you're reacting to it. And you may wonder, why don't they just come to you and talk to you and then they can find out? But for a narcissist, it's more fun. There's more enjoyment for them when they can watch you. Because you have to remember that narcissists are self-absorbed and they lack empathy. It's not about connecting to you. They are voyeuristic. They enjoy spying, watching, because of the feeling that it gives them a thrill. When they're doing something that they shouldn't be doing. They're going behind your back. And it's like, well, you're unaware, well, you don't know what's going on. So they feel like they have this special information that you don't have. Like they've got the advantage, they've got the upper hand. And that's what really excites them. Is when they're watching you, but you don't know that they're watching you. But sometimes they will also leave little hints, little clues to let you know. It's kind of like a serial killer, a psychopath. When they commit these crimes, they will often leave these little clues, these little signs at the scene of the crime. Because again, that gives them a thrill. It makes them feel like they have power over their target by knowing things that you don't know. But when they're in front of you, when they're talking to you, everything's fair, everything's even. They haven't got the advantage unless they're gaslighting you. And then for them, it's no fun. It's so much more fun when they're watching you from behind the scenes. Especially after they've already been involved with you and they've done certain things to you. Then they can just sit back and watch how it plays out. Or they may be doing this on your social media, stalking your page, seeing how you respond to them, maybe if you block them, or if you post something. They're going to be watching all of this because it's giving them supply. Because they're getting these reactions out of you, which is what they want. And they may see it as though they can get these reactions far greater when they're away from you, rather than if they were to be in your presence. If they were to be there asking you how you're doing after what they did to you, after what went wrong, they know that's not going to give them much of an effect that they're looking for. For them, it's so much more of a thrill when they do these things, and then they just let it play out. They leave you by yourself to see how you react to it on your own, without them there. So they will be secretly spying on you to see if you're still suffering, or also to see if you're healing and if you've moved on. And if they feel like you are beginning to heal, it's almost like they have this sixth sense, and then they will immediately come back so that they can extract energy or resources from you, and also just to sabotage you all over again. When they're spying on you, they will also be gathering data to use against you, or to manipulate you if they decide to come back later on down the line. And they may come back as soon as they sense that you are moving on. Or in some situations, they may also come back when you are at a low point. And this isn't talked about enough, but this is something that often happens. Yes, they may also come back when they feel like you're vulnerable, when you're sad, when maybe a crisis or something traumatic happened to you. Then they feel like something else has already done the work for them. So then it's going to be much easier when they come back. But they're always watching you. They're always keeping tabs. They always want to know what you're doing, who you're with, where you're going. They want to know all of these things. And it's because, and you may not realize this, but they actually feel rejected by you. You initiated the discard. That's why they left. Or maybe you just got rid of them. But even if it seems like they discarded you, it's because they sensed that you were not happy, or that you disapproved of something that they said or did. And that's why they then left. So everything they do after that is a response to the rejection. And this is when they will often become obsessed. They will stalk and harass you. They will triangulate you with someone else to try to provoke envy or jealousy in you. But actually, it's just because they're envious and jealous of you. And they feel like they've lost control of you as their possession. And that's how they develop these obsessions. Because you got to think, why would they become obsessed and start stalking and harassing you if nothing went wrong? If you were fine with them, if you were willing to take them back, if you were willing to give them another chance, then they would just do that. They would just come back to you, they would hoover you. Maybe they'd come back with a fake apology, a false epiphany. They've got all of these tactics to get back in. They don't come back because you're no longer susceptible to their manipulation. They can't gain the upper hand over you like they used to, because you see right through them. You know what they're about. And before they left, you disapproved of something they said or did. You weren't happy about it. Maybe you confronted them on it. And so they felt rejected. And what they're doing now is a response to that rejection. To where They may be giving you the silent treatment. They may even have ghosted you. They may have cut you off after that. But then secretly behind the scenes, they are still watching you. And they may be stalking you on your social media, or they may be speaking to your family or friends behind your back, or they may be getting one of their enablers or flying monkeys to spy on you. So you won't always see them on your social media. And sometimes they may also use fake accounts. Or they may be watching you in person at your house or at your work, watching what time you're leaving the house or what time you're coming home. And in extreme situations, and in fact, this is actually becoming more and more common if you do the search on YouTube or on Google. Narcissists, covert abusers, now what they are doing is installing tracking devices on their victim's car to see where they're going, to keep track of them at all times, because they're very possessive and controlling, they're very jealous. And they may also be monitoring you through the GPS on your phone. They may also have spyware on your computer where they can see your search history, your browsing history. And they may also be able to watch you through the camera on your computer or phone and listen to you through the microphones as well. And I know this may sound far-fetched, but actually, if you do the search on YouTube or Google, there's many report articles about this where it's already been done. And you could even search for these spyware devices on Google. And you can see that they are actually quite affordable. And they're very small, they're very easy to hide. So that's what a lot of narcissistic covert abusers are using these days to keep control of their victims and to continue getting that narcissistic supply, even when you're no longer susceptible to their manipulation and you don't want them in your life. And yet they have this obsession to where they must continue stalking and harassing you. That's what they're using these days. And if they've already had access to your home or your car, they may also have installed actual pin camera devices and microphones in your home or in your car. And this is for the very extreme and even malignant narcissists who have to keep tabs on you at all times, because without that supply, it's like they can't breathe. They're starving. They always feel like they're missing out on something. They have to be involved. They need to have access to you at all times to get that supply. So they may be watching you at all times. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I just want you to be aware of it, that this is what a lot of narcissists are using these days. And I know it may sound like something out of a sci-fi movie, but this is actually how it is. And just do the search on YouTube or Google. There's many reports. There was one on the news in the UK a few years ago, which had a few million views. And you could even search for these actual devices on Google and you will see that they're actually not that expensive to purchase. They're quite easy to install and they are very difficult to find. And it's really just so they can keep track of you, or they can try to control their jealousy and continue getting that narcissistic supply that they wouldn't be able to otherwise, because you're not susceptible to their manipulation and you don't want them in your life. So they have to force themselves onto you to continue getting that supply. And also, they may have found ways to do this, even if you moved to a different location and they couldn't gain access to your home. It could be a situation where before the relationship ended, they made it out like you're crazy, something is wrong with you. They may have got you to engage in reactive abuse. And then as they do, as soon as you react, after everything they did, they pull out their phone, they record you. And then maybe they show it to your landlord, or they give it to the authorities. And then they may have gained special permission to monitor you if they do have connections in those places, which, as we know, of course, many narcissists do. Narcissists like to stay friends with people in authority, especially those who they deem to have authority over you, such as your landlord. So narcissists these days have all of these tricks in their toolbox to maintain control over their grade A source of supply, the game path, the chosen one, the person that they can't let go. They have all of these tricks that they can use to keep getting that supply, and so that they can keep engaging in this fantasy of you being their possession, where they feel like you belong to them. Even though you may not actively be in their life, if they can watch you through cameras and listen to you through microphones, access to you through tracking devices, if they've installed it on, or they're monitoring you through your phone, your phone's GPS. So what's really happening when they're doing this, even though you're not actively engaged with them, you're not participating in anything, they're watching you and they're making everything about themselves. They think everything has something to do with them. So they could be watching you in your home, and it could be something like maybe you're watching a TV show and somehow they make it about them. You're watching it because you miss them. Or they may see that you're watching one of my videos, and then they're going to assume that you're hurt, you're struggling. So you're watching these videos for comfort, so that you can feel better about yourself because you missed them. Or if they've got GPS tracking on your car, and maybe you visit a location that you went to with them before, or something similar, that may translate to them in their heads that you missed them again, or it's something to do with them. This is how narcissists think. They make everything about themselves. They really are that crazy, and this is why rapists are narcissists as well. Someone could say no to a rapist, and despite that, the rapist will have some fantasy in their minds, and they'll always find a way to justify it no matter what you do, no matter what you say. And they'll find a way just to get you alone, take off your clothes and do what they need to do. and somehow justifying it the entire time, and not seeing that what they're doing is wrong because they're in denial. Same thing with an obsessed, narcissistic stalker. It doesn't matter what you say, what you do. In their minds, they still think that you want them. They still think that they have something with you. They really believe that. And there's nothing you can tell them. There's nothing you can say that will get it into their heads that you are not interested. God forbid that you are actively on social media like myself, where I'm posting pictures of my travels and I'm making these videos on here. Because when you're doing things like this, it just adds to the fantasy of these narcissists, where they may see you as being an active participant in their life, in their fantasy, where they think that you want them, you desire them, and that they have something with you, and that everything you do is all about them. Because this is just how they are. They really are that crazy. And they will try to destroy any other sources of influence that you have. So you could be watching me right now, just as an example, and they will twist my words. They will reinterpret it in a way and then feed it back to you to somehow make it seem like it's all about you, as though you're the toxic person, you're the narcissist. Be aware of that tactic as well, because they will use that one. And even a certain movie you watch, certain songs that you like, they will twist the meaning of it, reinterpret it in a way so that it aligns with their fantasy world and it supports their agenda so that they can maintain influence and control over you. Be aware of all of these things, all of these tricks that they use. Because this conversation that we're having right now, this isn't just some fantasy. This is a genuine engagement between you, the subscriber, the viewer of my channel, who has been through the things that you have been through. This is meant for you, specifically meant for you. And it's meant to help you. It's meant to give you the information, the encouragement, the support that you need. So don't let someone else come in and make it about them and twist it around on you as though you're the toxic person, you're the narcissist. Don't let them do that to you. And remember, you've been watching my videos for how long? It makes sense to you, it resonates with you. Clearly, it's meant for you. So don't let anyone twist that around on you. And recognize that these covert abusers, they do spy, and they may also have access to spyware technology and devices that they may install on your computer, your phone, your car, or even in your home. And it's all just to manage what otherwise would be that loss of supply, because they can't deal with rejection. They just can't deal with it, not from you, not from the grade A source of supply, not from the chosen one, the empath. They can't deal with that. They can't deal with losing you. And if they can't get your attention anymore, if you're no longer susceptible to their manipulation, then guess what? They will settle for the fantasy. And they will continue to keep tabs on you, just to confirm to themselves in their minds that everything you do is about them. You're still thinking about them. You're still longing and yearning for them and desiring to be involved with them. Because they're self-absorbed and they lack empathy. They're narcissists. Everything is about them. Everything is about this fantasy that they have concocted in their minds. And anything to do with you, your feelings, desires, or needs, whatever you're interested in, they do not care about that. Unless they can use it to manipulate you. But even if they can, after a certain amount of time, they're going to get bored, because that's not what they really want. That's not really what they're interested in. Everything has to revolve around their feelings, interests, and needs, their agenda, which they never revealed to you initially at the very beginning when they first met you. They gave her a false character. They made you believe that they were about something that they actually were not. They reflected your own qualities and virtues back to you because they knew that you were about that for real. And then that's how they managed to get in. That's how they gained access to your life. And then when you started to wake up, they tried to devalue you. They tried to put you down. They tried to make you believe that something is wrong with you. And that at some point you got rid of them, you discarded them, or they just couldn't manipulate you anymore, so they discarded you, and that was their response to the rejection. But even then, they just can't let the grade A source of supply, the empath, the chosen one, go. They're going to hold on to you. They're going to keep tabs on you. They're going to watch you. They're going to monitor you. And at the same time, they may also blame you, label you as crazy, label you as the narcissist, which doesn't really make too much sense, because I don't know about you, but when you know you've been dealing with a narcissist, you don't want to keep tabs on that type of person 24 hours a day. You don't always want to be watching what they're doing. You want to get away from that. Because let's be real, these people are disgusting. They're not pleasant. They're not something good, something nice to be around. They don't make us feel good. They make us feel worse. They make us feel bad about ourselves. And that's how you know that the person that you're dealing with is crazy. That's how you know that something is wrong with them, because they're acting like something is wrong with you, and yet at the same time they keep coming back to you. They keep watching you, stalking you, harassing you. Clearly they're getting something out of it. Clearly they're enjoying what they're seeing, what they're watching, what they're getting from you. Otherwise they wouldn't be doing it. Otherwise they wouldn't entertain it. Just as if you went to a certain restaurant and you didn't like the service there, you didn't like the food, yeah, you might complain about it. And if it's not how you want it to be, if it doesn't improve, you're not going to keep going back to it. Why would you? If there's other options, there's other restaurants that you can go to, why would you keep going back to that? But this is what narcissists do. They act like there's something wrong with you. They act like they don't like you, as though they're very ungrateful, they're not getting anything out of it. Then why come back? Why keep tabs on you? Unless you've stolen something from them, you have something that belongs to them, and they want it back, then yes, in those situations I can understand. But I don't think I'm talking to anyone on here who is a thief, a crook, someone who's stolen something. I don't think I'm speaking to anyone like that. So it doesn't make any sense. It reveals that they are finding pleasure in what they're getting from you. It's making them feel good, and that's why they keep coming back. That's why they keep tabs on you. They love your energy. It makes them feel good. They love your validation. And that's why they can't let you go. That's why they keep coming back. That's why they've got to be involved with you. And that's the response to the rejection, to you disapproving of something they said or did, to you not wanting to be involved with them, to them not being able to have you in the way that they would like, to where they then become obsessed. They become addicted to you. And then they got to keep tabs on you. They got to watch you from behind the scenes. They got to install these spyware and tracking devices, which some of you may already have some awareness of this. You may have noticed some signs. You may feel like they know too much. They know things that they shouldn't know. They know things that only you should know. It's like maybe they texted you, they called you up on the phone. It's like they already knew what you were doing that day, where you were going. Maybe you were just going to a restaurant and you just typed it in on Google. Where is this restaurant? And then maybe they just texted you. Are you going to get something to eat? And then it just clicks. How do you know that? And yet what they do, thanks to the donation, Jeanette Boyd, what they do, and this is the absolute absurd thing about it, but this is what they do. When they're stalking and harassing you, then you feel self-conscious. You feel shame, as though you're bad and as though something's wrong with you. And just think about that for a moment. How does that make any sense? I mean, yeah, they may have installed a tracking device on your car. They may know where you're going. They may see that. Or sometimes if they've installed a pinhole camera in your home, some of them are so sick, as I've already heard, they'll even put it in the toilet, watch you in the shower, watch you using the toilet. And if you become aware of this, some of you may feel self-conscious, you may feel insecure. What you need to recognize is they're the crazy ones, they're obsessed with you, but they disown these feelings and they deflect that shame onto you. That's what they do. Because they're the ones who should feel ashamed of themselves for their actions. What they're doing is messed up. It's wrong. And I hate to say it, but a few years ago, and this really shocked me. In some ways, I could kind of understand, but I still think that it's wrong. It's not right to do this. But one of my clients, he wanted to catch his narcissist in the act. He wanted to record when she would rage at him. And what he did was he installed pinhole cameras in his home. And he then sent me some copies of the recordings to my email. This was a few years ago. And the video was very high quality. You could see everything. You could see exactly what was going on. It was in black and white. And you could see that his wife or girlfriend, the person who he believed to be the narcissist, she was completely unaware that she was being recorded. She couldn't even see a phone or a camera because it was a pinhole camera. It was hidden in the wall. And just watching that back, the feelings that I felt, even though I didn't know this person, I've never met them, they're from the other side of the world, it was really shocking to me. And even though this woman was quite clearly raging, and from what I saw, it did seem like this man was the victim, and he came to me for help as well. Despite that, I still felt like this is wrong. This is not right at all. I mean, if you're going to record them, then why do you have to hide it? If you believe that what you're doing is right, unless you're afraid of how they might react, if you feel like they may become violent, as I've experienced in the past when I did try to record a narcissist, they became violent at me, then maybe for one interaction, you may want to hide the camera just to gain that evidence. But even then, that's not what these narcissists do. Because it's not just that they're gathering data. These people will stalk you for years, for the rest of your life. I mean, it doesn't take that long. If you're trying to gather evidence on someone who you think is crazy, it probably shouldn't take you that long at all. And this is how you know that something is not right. When they're saying that you're wrong, you're crazy, and they're acting like they're obsessed with you, they're stalking you because they're trying to gather information, it wouldn't take such a long time to do that. It wouldn't take that long. If a person is really that bad, it's not going to take months, it's not going to take years. I mean, just think with a narcissist. If someone told you to record them, to gather information on them, that you would approve that they're a narcissist, it's not going to take you days. You could do that in one day. You could quite easily, just from being around them for 10 minutes, you could easily get all of the information that you need to show the way that they behave, to show them when they rage. It's not going to take years. It's not going to take months, weeks. It won't even take days to do that. So it doesn't line up with what they're saying about you. It's not an excuse for them stalking you, spying on you. Thanks for the donation, Jeanette. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's not going to take that long. They're doing it for narcissistic supply. This is what narcissists do. As you may have noticed when you were with them, they were always watching you. They watch everything you do. You can't do anything without them watching, without them commenting on it, without them giving you these negative remarks. I mean, I remember I couldn't even practice just basic self-care. I couldn't even look in the mirror without being put down, without being told that something is wrong with me. And this is why they do what they do. And I've heard things from people in the past that really prove this point. People who have told me that other people were watching me, stalking me on social media, and just gossiping about me, making negative comments. There's even still a Twitter page about me that's been online for 13 years, where people in my town were stalking me, taking pictures without my awareness, and putting them up online, getting other people involved and just gossip about me behind my back, saying negative things about me. This is what narcissists like to do. And this is what they will be doing behind the scenes when they're watching you, when they're stalking you. Even if they're just looking at your pictures on social media, they're going to be gossiping about everything they're seeing. They're going to be looking at the things you have, your clothes. They'll be thinking, how much did that cost? And you may have done everything for them in the relationship, but they're going to be thinking, why didn't you get something like that for me? And if you're with someone new, they're going to make some story up in their heads about how you're together. They're going to make it seem like something has to be wrong with it. Remember, when you were with them, they always found something negative to say. It's no different when they're stalking you, when they're watching you. They're finding something negative in everything that you're doing. They're fault finding, they're nitpicking. And they're just thinking about it to themselves to make themselves feel better. Or usually they like to get other people involved. They're talking about you to other people behind your back, maybe starting a smear campaign and using all of this information to support it, to make you look bad, to paint you in a bad light, to twist things around and make it seem more believable. And they may even be speaking to your family or friends and telling them these things and feeling like they've really got this sense of power and control over you, because even your family, even your friends are taking their side. So then it's like you've got no one, you've got no support. And that's what they like. That's what they want, because then they feel like they possess you. Like they can control you, you belong to them. You're just this object that they own. And that's really what this is. When they're watching you, when they're spying on you, you really think that they're viewing you as a separate person with your own feelings, wants, desires, and needs. Of course not. When they are watching you, they are objectifying you. They're viewing you as an object that exists to serve them, to meet their emotional needs, to give them their narcissistic supply. Because you can't just watch someone, you can't just spy on them and not be viewing them as an object. You can't. You have to be objectifying them. You can't be viewing them as a person, as a real human being. Because if you were, you would recognize that they're having their own separate experience, and you wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't be able to keep watching, to keep spying on them. But that's exactly what they do. Because they have an inability to see anyone as a person. They objectify themselves and they objectify you. And sometimes you're a good object, sometimes you're a bad object. But once they feel like you've rejected them and you don't want them in your life, you're not susceptible to their manipulation anymore, from that point on, you're only ever going to be a bad object, unless they can feel like there's a way for them to get back in, and then they may idealize you and view you as a good object. If they feel inferior to you, if they feel rejected, if you disapproved of something they said or did, or you confronted them, then they're only ever going to see you as a bad object, and they're going to be stalking on you, spying on you, just to fault find and nitpick, to look for things that are wrong or that they deem to be wrong, just so that they can create this narrative about you. Or sometimes they have this fantasy, even though they know you don't want them, they know you don't want them to be involved in your life. But if they can't accept that, they may still just maintain this fantasy in their minds and continue idealizing you by just watching everything you're doing and making it about them, as though you're the one who wants them, you're seeking validation from them, even though you may have made it very clear to them that you're not interested. You may have told them you don't want anything to do with them, and yet they're still watching you, they're still spying on you and making everything about them, as though it's them that you want. This is what they're like. This is what they do. And this is what they enjoy. Just remember when you were with them. Did it really look like they enjoyed being with you? They couldn't really connect to you. They lack empathy. They're self-absorbed. They prefer when everything's all about them. They don't want to have to worry about you and consider your feelings, your needs. They don't want to have to consider that. They'd rather just live in this fantasy inside their heads where they can watch you and objectify you and make everything about them. That's what gives them that thrill. That's what gives them pleasure and enjoyment. Because then in these moments where they're watching and observing you, they can make it about whatever they want it to be for them. Without you having to get involved, without you having to ruin it for them. Because the way they look at it, that's all that you're going to do. You're an inconvenience. You cause disruption in what they're trying to accomplish through using you as this object. And that's why they prefer this voyeuristic way of being. Some of them as well, they can also be exhibitionists, where they may show up at your work or at your home, and they're very attention-seeking, they're attention whores, trying to get your validation, to get their narcissistic supply. So they can be exhibitionists as well. But this is clearly a part of the disorder. Where the voyeurs, the exhibitionists, they like to be watched, or they like to watch, rather than there being an actual connection between two people. They prefer to watch or be watched. That's their idea of fun. That's what they like. And maybe because at some point in the past, they felt unloved, they felt like they weren't good enough, and they couldn't get that interaction that they were looking for, the validation that they needed as a child. So then they kind of gave up on that. They created a false character. They abandoned their true self. And a false character cannot have these connections. They can't have deep conversations. They can't be intimate. Because it's all fantasy. It all just revolves around watching or being watched, which is great for them. That's exactly what they want. That's why so many narcissists buy this spyware technology, but it's no good for you. As a real person, that's not satisfying for you. That's not what you want. It's not a connection. It's not a relationship, but that's what they're about. That's what they enjoy. And believe me, they are getting off on it. They're getting off on your pain. They're getting off on your suffering. They're getting off on anything you do, because whatever you do, they make it about them. They're very paranoid and hypervigilant. They think everything has something to do with them. And sometimes it does, but many times it doesn't. You may be watching these videos because of what you had to go through with them. So that may have some connection to them, but then there's so many other things. You could be watching a movie, reading a book, listening to a song, and it's completely irrelevant. It has no connection to them whatsoever, but they will still find a way to make it about them, because they view you as an object that exists to serve them. They view you as their possession, as something that belongs to them, not as a separate person with your own feelings, desires, and needs. They objectify you. This is what they do. And I would say that for anyone who consistently stalks, watches, spies, observes on anyone, especially without their consent, especially without their knowledge and awareness, anyone who does these things, anyone who buys the spyware technology, uses tracker devices, anyone who does any of these things is very sick and twisted in their mind. And they must have some personality disorder, some mental illness, definitely one of the cluster B disorders, probably narcissism, because that reveals self-absorption and a lack of empathy. Because they are objectifying you. They're viewing you as an object rather than a separate person with your own feelings and needs. They'd have to be objectifying you in order for them to do that. And this is how, at the same time, they also like to be exhibitionists. They like to put on a show for you, whether it's on social media or they show up at your house or work. They like to do all of these things because they're objectifying you. And it's like you're getting all of this attention, even though you don't even want it. And then they start to feel jealous of that as well, especially if they're gossiping about you behind your back to people that you may know, or their family or friends, whoever it may be. So then they feel like they're missing out on that as well. And then that becomes a competition. They want to outdo you in that as well. So then they become these exhibitionists, and they go off their false character. They show up in person to try to get your attention. They flaunt their new supply on social media just for you, to get you to validate them. Because this is the dance. This is how they like to do it. They like to watch or be watched. They want to objectify you, and they want you to objectify them, because they view themselves and everyone else as objects. This is why you can never connect to them. You could never have a connection. You could never be intimate with them. This is why. This is the reason. Because they view everyone as objects. And unfortunately, this is becoming more and more common today. With social media, especially with this generation, because they're on social media more than they're interacting with anyone in real life. So they grow up learning to objectify everyone. Everyone is an object to them, because they're looking on social media and all they see is people objectifying themselves, showing their bodies, taking pictures with houses, with cars, like they're just these objects, rather than real human beings with feelings. Instead, they're just pixels on a screen. So it's very common these days with this generation. Thanks for the donation, Jeanette. It's very common these days because from birth, they're hooked up to social media. They're watching movies, all of these things. It's like they're not really connecting to anything. They don't have to worry about another person. And yet they're still seeing people on social media or in movies, while they can still just be self-absorbed and not need to have any empathy. That's not required. So it's very sad times that we are in. This is the way that the world is today. And just look around, we do live in a narcissistic world. And I know many of you know what I'm talking about. It's like, how many friends do you have? How many people do you know who you can just call up on the phone right now and just talk about things, talk about life, talk about what you're going through, talk about your feelings? How many people do you know who you can just call right now and talk about that? How many people will actually listen to you? How many people will actually care? The odds are that there are not many people like that in this world. And yet we wonder, why are they spying on us? Why are they stalking and harassing us? Why are they purchasing these spyware devices? Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe because they can't get that narcissistic supply from anywhere else. So they've got to get it from us. They've got to maintain that control over us, because they can't get that supply from anyone else. They can't get that feeling of feeling like they own something. But I do believe that many of these people, with the immoral and illegal acts that they are engaged in, they've got to be demonically possessed. And it's like, when they get around you, when they're watching you, you may feel like in that moment a demon has entered you as well. Because I know, as I've said before, I felt like that happened to me as well. Getting around these types of people, because you can't be yourself around them. They don't want you to have a sense of self. So what happens when they take that away from you, when they destroy it? Then what goes into you instead? It creates an opening, a void, for a demon to possess you. Of course, until you get away from them, and then you can rebuild your sense of self again, or regain that awareness of who you actually are. But you can't do that when you are around them. When you get around them, they've got to put these demons into you. Because again, they're self-absorbed, they lack empathy. They don't care about putting that into you. It's all about them. It's all about what they want. And your light, your high vibration, it stirs up these emotions inside of them. It irritates their demons. And then their demons come out. They come onto you. And there's just no empathy, no consideration. They do not care about you. It's just all about them. They objectify you because they are self-absorbed and they lack empathy. Well, at the same time, they lack a sense of self. They have no self-identity. They objectify themselves, so they objectify everyone else. That's how it works, as within, so without. How a person treats you is a direct reflection of how they feel about themselves. They're disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from their own emotions. So they're disconnected from your emotions. They're disconnected from you. So what are they doing instead when they are around you? When they are stalking you, watching you, spying on you? If they're not connected to you, they're objectifying you. And yet you wonder, why couldn't you have a connection, a relationship, intimacy? They don't want that. They don't want that with you. And they don't want that with anyone. They just don't want that at all. They do not want a connection. They do not want a relationship. They do not want intimacy or vulnerability. They do not want any of that. They can't even experience that, even if they tried. Because they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions. They have no sense of self. People are all just objects for them to use, objects that exist to serve them. And that's what they like. That gives them a thrill. It makes them feel powerful and in control, as though they possess you, as though they own you, as though you belong to them. And you can see that because that's how things are. That is the dynamic with them. Because that's what they like. That's what they want. If they didn't, then I'm sure by now you would have experienced a connection. You would have had that intimacy. Things would have been fine because that's clearly what you want. So you would have had that with them if that's what they were really about. But they're not about that, and that's why you didn't get that. Instead, what you did get is them objectifying you. Them not considering your feelings or needs. Them not even recognizing that you're a separate person. And instead, they're just viewing you as an extension of themselves. That's really what they're doing. You got to think, when they're obsessing over you, when they're spying on you all of this time, do you really think they're viewing you as something separate from themselves? Of course not. They're viewing you as an extension of them. Thanks to the donation, Jeanette. I appreciate it again. Yes, they are viewing you as an extension of them, with no separation between you. And that's how they can violate your boundaries. When a person violates your boundaries, it shows that they do not recognize any separation between you and them. They can't see where they end and you begin, or where you end and they begin. They can't see that. Everything's just enmeshed. Because they're viewing you as an extension of themselves. They're viewing you as an object. It's only when you can view someone as a person rather than an object, that you're not viewing them as an extension of yourself. Because by doing that, you're then recognizing that they have their own feelings and needs. So instantly, you're going to feel self-conscious. You're going to feel shame. You're going to think, maybe this person doesn't like it when I spy on them. Maybe this person doesn't want to be watched. Maybe this person wants something else. Maybe this person finds it creepy, disturbing, weird. But no, that never crosses their minds because they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions. They're viewing you as an extension of themselves. So You must feel what they feel. You must want what they want. If they're spying on you, if they're watching you, you must want them to do that because you're an extension of them. This is how narcissists see things. As crazy as it sounds, this is exactly how they are. This is how they justify it. This is how they continue doing what they do. Because if they didn't view you as an object, if they viewed you as a separate person with your own feelings and needs, rather than an extension of themselves, they would not be able to do that. It wouldn't be possible. But it is possible because they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions, and they view you as an extension of them. If you're finding this video helpful so far, please give it a thumbs up down below. Thank you. They're viewing you as an extension of them. And this goes for anyone, any narcissist, doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they are a murderer, a serial killer, a rapist, a pedophile, a child molester, a thief, a fraud. All of these people have this in common. They are not viewing you as a separate person with your own feelings and needs. They're viewing you as an object that exists to serve them because they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions. So they're objectifying you because they're self-absorbed and they lack empathy. If they actually had a sense of self, if they actually knew who they are, rather than objectifying themselves, they would not be able to do that to you. It wouldn't be possible. But it is because they don't know who they are. They have no sense of self. And as I said, in this generation, I mean, just look at social media. What do you see? A bunch of people who don't know who they are. They have no identity. They all look exactly the same no matter what country they're from. There's nothing that separates them, nothing that makes them unique. And funny enough, this is the same thing with smear campaigns and gang stalking. They're all exactly the same. They all behave the same way. So notice the connection between all of these things. It's something that all of these people have in common. All of these predators, these abusers, these murderers, rapists, child molesters, these gang stalkers, fly monkeys, they all act this same way because of the reasons that I've said, of how they have no sense of self, they're disconnected from themselves and their emotions, they objectify themselves, so they objectify everyone else. You're just an object, a tool that exists to serve them because they're self-absorbed and they lack empathy. It's the same thing with all of them. They are all exactly the same. And this is how, no matter what part of the world you're from, no matter who you've been dealing with, it's almost like I know them. You'd swear like they had an affair. Like I was one of their other sources of supply. But this is actually how it works. And this is how I'm able to do this. For these reasons that I've mentioned. This is how they're all the same. Because they don't know who they are. They have no sense of self. And their false self is derived from gaining possession over people, manipulating and controlling them. It's really not helping them at all. It's just making them worse. But this is what they do, and it's because they find pleasure in doing that. It gives them a thrill. It makes them feel alive. It makes them feel like they're actually real. But it's all just a fantasy. Nothing's actually happening. There's no connection. There's no intimacy. There's no relationship. It's just all in their minds. And it's all just self-serving. It's all just serving them because they're self-absorbed. And they don't care about anyone but themselves. They don't care about anyone but themselves. And even themselves, they don't even care about themselves as well. Because they're disconnected from themselves. They're disconnected from their emotions, and they use a false character. Real talk tonight. This is some deep stuff. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because, as I said in yesterday's video, I'm on the 41st floor. Maybe being so high up, it just gives me this higher level of awareness. This special knowledge from the universe is being sent down to me. I'm getting a download right now. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but I'm liking it. Being high up from these streets, away from all of this noise, I'm able to think. I'm able to give you this vital information, this special knowledge that helps you to understand this disorder and why they do what they do. Instead of them having this power to deceive you and leave you feeling confused. Because of course, that's not what I want them to do. And I'm happy to be here for you, to give you this information, to support and comfort you. That's really my mission. That's what I aim to do. And I do hope that tonight I have done that for you. There was a video premiere as well, about 1 hour ago. If you go to my channel and check my videos, you will see that I just uploaded a video that I pre-recorded a few days ago, actually maybe a couple of weeks ago, that one. Check out that video. I do have video premieres every day, so definitely check out my other videos. There's so much information to view there. If you're enjoying my live videos, I do have my pre-recorded videos, my raw videos, my shorts as well. Check them all out. Lots of vital information in there. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up down below. It helps the YouTube algorithm to get this message out there to other survivors, other viewers who may need to see it as well, so that they can benefit from this information. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hit subscribe and click all notifications to be notified when I upload a new video. If you would like to donate, you can leave a super chat in the live chat, a super thanks in the comment section, or you can go to my PayPal. It is paypal.me/Narc Survivor. And if you would like to book a one-on-one coaching session with me, just go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And also, you can follow me on Instagram. I have new pictures and videos of my travels, which I upload to my stories every day on there. It's Narc Survivor YouTube on Instagram. All right. Thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. I love you all and I appreciate your support. And as always, I look forward to speaking with you in another live video very soon.